I've been making a lot of big factories lately, and big factories mean big power. My current consumption is within a couple gigawatts of my current production, so it's time to add some power to the grid. I'm here in the blue hole where there are a bunch of oil nodes, and we're going to put together a big oil plant today using some alternate recipes to turn a fairly small amount of oil into a very big amount of power. So we're here in the blue hole. It's this kind of murky area that's always foggy. Looks like it's made out of coral. And down here on this side of it, there are 6 oil nodes. 2 in this cave back there that we haven't tapped yet. A pure one right here. A normal one there. A normal one there. And an impure one underneath the platform where we're standing today. And so we could turn this into, with overclocking, 25 gigawatts of power, something like that. So today we're merely going to make a 10 gigawatt power plant from 300 crude oil. Only 300 crude oil will give us 10 gigawatts of power. So how the heck can we do this? How can we turn this amount of oil into 10 gigawatts of power? Well, the key is 2 alternate recipes: heavy oil residue and diluted fuel. And if you have those 2 recipes and have access to blenders, you can make a massive quantity of fuel that will give you enough power to make very large factories. I've laid out a platform for our factory today. So what we're going to do is take this oil, we've already joined it together, and we're going to pump it up here onto this platform, turn it into heavy oil residue, and then bring it back down and feed it into our blenders down here. So that's what we're going to work on in the video today. And this will be enough fuel for 66 2/3 fuel generators. Fuel generators come in integers. So 67 fuel generators making 10 gigawatts of power. Let's do it. So our oil is coming up to our platform right here with a pump to bring it up to this level. It's higher than 10 meters, so you need a pump to get it up here. So let's get out our refineries and we'll line up the input of this refinery right with that oil, and we'll put our first oil down in there. But we'll first put down 10 refineries to change this crude oil into heavy oil residue. And yet again, I did not make my platform big enough. So let me rectify that mistake. Forgot to set my colors here ahead of time. So if you don't know how to set your standard colors, I'm making this whole area blue to match the general vibe. So I'm going to right click on this swatch and hit standard, and that will make everything that color from now on that we put down. But I have to manually change these for now. Okay, there we go. Nice and blue. So we have 10 refineries here, and we need to hook them all up to this oil. But first we need to put on our recipes just to make sure. And the key thing here in these refineries is we're making heavy oil residue. This takes 30 meters cubed of crude oil and gives us 40 heavy oil residue per minute, giving us 400 heavy oil residue overall from these 10 refineries. Will give us 200 polymer resin per minute as well that we need to deal with as a byproduct, or the whole system will back up. We have a couple options there. We can make some plastic if we need it. We can sink it directly. We can even use another alternate recipe, polyester fiber. That's a good source of fiber if you need to make iodine gas masks. All right, so let's set up our pipes here. First, I'm just gonna go through and set up all these junctions and then just run my pipes directly. It's just a little bit easier for me to keep everything lined up here. Again, I like to keep the pipes the color of the substance that's inside. I know they have that little section. Oh man, I ran out of copper sheets. I knew I would run out of something. Well, I always forget something when I go to do one of these big builds, and this time it was copper sheets. So after a little run to pick up some copper sheets, I'm back. So now we have the oil coming in. So now we need to set up the output to get our heavy oil residue out of these machines and back down to our blenders. So we're also going to have some solid output here with the polymer resin. So we need to leave a little bit of room for our belts to grab all of that to process it. So that's why we're going to put this a little bit further away from the input than we did on the other side. Keen-eyed observers may notice that these refineries are now turned around. So I put them in backwards and hooked up all the pipes before I noticed. So error rectified. Back to the rest of our video now that I am thoroughly annoyed with myself. Okay, now we'll get our polymer resin out of these refineries. We have to deal with this byproduct to make sure everything doesn't back up. So this is going to be a little wonky because normally I put down the belts first, and since I've already redone the pipes, I don't want to do it again. So we're going to do something slightly different. Normally I have the belts going right over the top of the pipes, but that requires putting in the belts first. So let's do this. We're going to have our manifold go down this way. So we'll line up our mergers here. Lift on this side. Lift on this side. Sorted. We'll do this all the way down. We don't really need any more fabric or plastic at the moment. We can always come in and install that production if we need some extra plastic. But for now, we're just going to take this polymer resin and just feed it directly into the sink just to save us a little bit of headache. We already have to put in 67 fuel generators, so let's just keep it simple. We have our refineries hooked up to the oil, the output of heavy oil residue coming out and going downstairs, and our polymer resin is going in the sink down here. So let's pop the power on to make sure this is all working. Normally I save it till all the way at the end, but this build, we are putting in so many machines, I want to make sure that it is working. Okay, the power was hooked up, but for some reason that pipe wasn't playing nicely with the floor hole. So we redid it, and now our oil is coming in. We got green lights. Let's see. All right, everything looks like it's working great. We should have some polymer resin going down here. Very nice. Into the sink. Excellent. Doing very little for our total, since most of this total is from supercomputers. A couple polymer resin are like 10 points each. Okay, so that looks like it's working great. So let's go downstairs and get our blenders set up. We have our heavy oil residue coming down from up there. And now it's time to put in our blenders, where we're going to take that heavy oil residue, blend it with water, and make diluted fuel, the key to getting 10 gigawatts of power out of 300 crude. So we're going to put our first blender right here and then go from there. So we're going to leave this half block here for where we can run pipes in the front, and then there'll be a half block here in the back to where we can run the fuel output in the back. And we'll put the other four blenders on the other side here. Same deal, with a half block on either side. Let's take a look at the diluted fuel recipe down here. So it takes 40 heavy oil residue in per minute. While we have 8 blenders, we have 400 heavy oil residue coming from our 300 crude. And then each blender takes 100 water per minute. We can do some splitting and do that to save ourselves doing 1 or 2 water extractors. But in this case, each water extractor does 120 per minute. I'm just gonna make a water extractor for each blender. And each one of these will put out 100 per minute of fuel, 800 fuel per minute. Massive quantities, 67 fuel generators worth of fuel. All right, let's get these wired together. It can be a little tricky to hook up the pipes here because we have 2 pipe inputs and we have this pipe here along the ground. So what we're gonna do is pick this one up off the ground a little bit. We're gonna get out our stackable pipeline pole here, and we're gonna give ourselves, not right in the middle, but one back right there. I know each of these machines has 2 inputs. I know we're really close to this, but if we take out a pipe junction, put it right on here and switch it to it's slanted like that, hit control to line it up, and then it's very, very close. But if you switch it to the noodle mode, so horizontal to vertical won't work, auto doesn't work, auto 2D works but it clips through, so switch it to noodle mode like that, and then you can get it to feed in. Suspicion that this water is too shallow. Oh, but it is not. That's lucky. All right, let's line this up here with that. If you look here, this will go right underneath that one. Now, of course, I have forgotten something else, that I needed to do water extractors, and I need 7 of these. So we'll add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And of course, I am short on both reinforced iron plates and rotors. So I will be back shortly with those. Should really make a hyper tube here. I'm too lazy for that. It was a pretty long ride on the train to pick up some rotors, but we are back. So now we have all 8 blenders working. We have our water extractors. We have heavy oil residue and water in here making fuel. So now we need to get our fuel out of here. So what we're gonna do is combine all the fuel from this side, which will be 400 fuel, and then 400 fuel from this side, each side in its own pipe, because all of it together is bigger than one Mark II pipe. I just picked up 350 modular frames, 550 motors, 1800 rubber, 1800 quick wire, and 200 computers. That's what I need to build 34 fuel generators, and that's only half of what we need for this. It's a massive project. So what we're going to do here is build out a platform along the edge here that will use the center of this lake to put all of our fuel generators. We'll do them in floors of 34, and I'll show you why that is in just a moment. There's not really enough room to do it right here, so I'm going to get it on the other side of this little toadstool thing. So we'll go with some foundations to get out there. All right, this is seriously massive. Okay, so we need a grid 12 foundations wide by 24 foundations long. Here's our massive platform. Just took about 3,000 concrete, I think, to lay all this out. As you can see, this whole process with diluted fuel is a tad bit tedious. The volume is just massive. This is only half of the fuel generators that we can do with all this fuel. We actually have to do another platform this size and do it again. So you get a lot of power out of this, but frankly, I love building in this game, but this is pretty tedious. I would love to see maybe some fuel generators that take a little bit more fuel, maybe Mark II fuel generators, so you don't have to just use insane amount of space to be able to do this. But do it we will. We need the power. It's 10 gigawatts of power, so why not do it? Then we won't have to worry about making power for a while. I wanted to do a nuclear plant at this point, but I know that Coffee Stain is going to change the nuclear recipe, or at least one of the alternative recipes, to get rid of beacons. So I kind of want to wait for that to happen so my factory doesn't get messed up when that happens. So fuel power for a little bit, it is. All right, we'll start laying out these fuel generators right now, and I'll see you on the flip side. Well, it's nighttime now, but I have 34 fuel generators here ready to receive some fuel. So I'm going to lay out our pipes now. Our fuel pipes will be coming over here and around. One pipe will be set up to go up to a second floor that we'll build later. But the one thing you need for a ton of things off of one pipe like this, if you don't do this, the machines at the end of the line will be starved of fuel, I promise you, just based on the sloshing of fluid and all the things in the game. So to combat that, you need to make a big circle with your pipe. So we'll bring the pipe in here, run it down here, around the back through here, and then instead of having it stop, we're gonna reconnect it back in here, and that will help the fuel get all the way around to all of the machines. We are reloaded with copper sheets, and we are ready to get this power plant rocking. All we have to do is put our pipes in and bring our fuel over here, and then we'll be making, this is an extra 5 gigawatts of power. Amazingly, this is only half. And one last trick that will help smooth out the power a little bit and help with the sloshing is put in a little fluid buffer in the middle of your loop, and this will help things keep a little bit more smooth on your power generation. Okay, now we're ready for the fuel. After all this, I mean, this is only one row. There's another row like this, and there's going to be 2 more after that. But let's turn on this whole thing, and this will be half of the power we're going to generate, about 5 gigawatts. So if you look right now, we are producing 18 gigawatts, basically. It goes up and down, largely because of I have a few geothermal generators, so it goes up and down. So we're making about 18 gigawatts. This whole plant is going to add 10 gigawatts to our capacity. So let's hook up the pipe and watch this graph go up. I guess power is normally my favorite part, but the power is all hooked up. I'll take the pipes. Okay. There we go. Fuel is pumping. Filling up. There we go. Fuel generators are very loud. Second only to the chainsaw and just pure loudness. There we go. Look at that graph climb quickly. We were about 18 gigawatts before. We're already up to 21 basically. And it will kind of wiggle around a little bit as the fuel works its way through the system. So we briefly saw it shoot up to 23, meaning that we have enough fuel for this entire system to fill up and make its 5 gigawatts, because we're on 18 before. This will get us up to 23 gigawatts. Because we've seen it pop up to 23, I know this system works. It's just a matter of waiting for everything to fill everything up. Just like a manifold with a belt and items on a conveyor belt, it takes a little bit for the machines to fill up and the overflow to work its way down to the later machines. Just maybe not quite as obvious when you're working with fuel. I'm gonna go ahead and make the second floor here off camera and show you the end result. So it should only take about, I don't know, 2 or 3 seconds to build this. Voila! 68 fuel generators using 800 fuel per minute, made from 300 crude oil per minute, making 10 gigawatts of power. It should tide us over until we hit nuclear, but it probably won't. I'll probably be doing another one of these. So update 6 is dropping on early access next week. And instead of finishing off this factory now, I'm gonna wait until the new buildables come out and use this as an opportunity to explore with the new stuff and try things out and see if we can make some cool new designs. So hurry up and hit subscribe. You don't want to miss that video of when I turn this into an absolute beautiful masterpiece. And if you like this and it helped you generate a bunch of power, hit like down below. Until next time, I'm DrLootCrate, and stay stoked out there.